This is Wildcat Country.
Larson tipped it. Love has it. Lewis slams it, and Arizona wins it.
The inside scoop on the Arizona Wildcats.
It's Gunnar Maldonado. He's got blockers. Touchdown, Arizona.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bear down.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country presented by Harrah's Auction Casino. Eric Cohen and Shane Dale, and what do you know? For the first time in the regular season in their history, the Arizona Wildcats men's basketball team is a unanimous number one. Actually, I put that out today. I saw U of A wrote an email about this. It's actually my most liked tweet of all time, Shane. How about that?
Is it really? Congrats on that. You know, I didn't know they were never unanimous. They've been number one a few times. I never didn't realize it wasn't unanimous before. I mean, it almost was last week, and they were unanimous in the coaches poll too. So well deserved. I mean, you can always argue who the best team in the country is, but I think based on body of work, there's no argument Arizona deserves to be number one right now. Not even my most cynical self can argue with that. And so I think we're both trying to, as some people on YouTube have reminded us, just enjoy the ride.
Yes.
You never know what's going to happen. It's just live in the moment, mindfulness, and enjoy the ride for as long as it happens, and hopefully it'll be for a while longer.
And let me make note that I didn't know this stat offhand. Arizona sent out an email. I read it. I put out the tweet, and somebody did not believe me, so they asked Grok, who then backed me up. Fortunately, AI can be to our advantage when it agrees. Yeah. I mean, do you think I made that up? Okay, Arizona. I mean, come on. Do we really? Come on.
It's kind of a thing right now. Hey, Grok, remove the dumbest person from this photo.
What are we doing? Hey, speaking of, we have a great guest on the show. Casey Jacobson, who called Arizona's game last week, going to join us. I believe he might be calling the game this week. We'll find out. He is on the show. I know that he got some grief from Arizona fans last week for his call. It's a close game against ASU. I mean, he's got to come in and be unbiased. And I know, he's a former Stanford guy and Arizona villain, but I like him as a broadcaster. Shane, you've always been a fan, and I think it's a good get.
Yeah, he's a sharp guy. He knows his stuff. He was on a number one team himself. We'll ask him, what was that like? How do you handle the pressure of being number one? And, it's been a while since we had him on. But he's always had some good insight, and excited to have him on again, and people can complain about him in the comments all they want.
Let's break it down with buy or sell, Shane. We're going to start with this one, though both games were close this last week. Wins over Arizona State and at UCF. The win over ASU is more concerning than anything because it exposed Arizona's defensive weaknesses.
Well, first of all, the close win at UCF, I'm not concerned about. UCF's a good team. Any road win's a good win. Not concerned. They got that one nailed down late. And then overall, no, I'm not too concerned. I mean, the win over ASU was a lot tighter than any of us really expected, and it probably should have been. I think, to put myself in the Casey camp, it's more about ASU probably playing above its pay grade than Arizona slumping. But, Arizona's number 3 nationally in Ken Palm's adjusted defense. They're number 5 in Evan Mia in defense, number 5 on Bart Torvik, any of the metrics you want. So, for the pace they play, look, they're not going to hold everyone to under 70 points a game like Aaron Gordon's team did. So just because of the way they play. So, no, I'm not concerned overall about the defense. I think the lapses are correctable. I have 3 concerns about this team overall, and they're all nitpicky because we're talking about an undefeated, unanimous number 1 team. But they're things that I think could make or break their chances in the NCAA tournament. Because I think we're all watching, are there any flaws here? Like, what should we be concerned about? Number 1 is early foul trouble, especially with Koa Pete and Braden Burries. We've seen too many games, and we saw it again at UCF. I saw it in the game I went to against San Diego State and Phoenix, where one of those guys essentially has to sit out the first half because they pick up 2 quick fouls. Arizona's gotten away with that so far. They've been able to work around it, but at some point against a better team, that might become an issue. Number 2, their free throw shooting, especially late in games. They're 74% from the line overall, which is 7th in the conference. Not bad, could be better. But I don't trust anyone on their team not named Jaden Bradley or Anthony Del Orso at the free throw line late in games. We saw Koa Pete miss a pair in the final minute against UCF, and then UCF hit a three to cut the lead to 2 possessions. Fortunately, it ended up being a non-issue. But if Koa or someone else who's not a great foul shooter goes to the line late in a tournament game, they're up 1 or 2 points. They miss both shots or the front end of a 1-and-1. Could be the difference between getting to the Final Four or another Elite Eight heartbreak. And then finally, Anthony Del Orso himself. I think he's improved his game overall since last season. I don't think that's disputed, but he's been an awful slump from the field. He went 3 of 6 from 3-point range at TCU, but in Arizona's 6 other most recent games, he's 1 of 18 from three, 10 of 39 overall from the field. So he's just a streaky shooter, which most 3-point specialists are to a degree, but he's down to 30% from three for the season after he was over 41% last year. So, if he's hitting outside shots in addition to all the weapons Arizona has in the front court, I think the Wildcats are almost impossible to beat. If he's not, again, that's just something else that leaves the door open for a great team to possibly beat Arizona down the line. So those are my concerns. All minor in the grand scheme of things. But no, I think the defensive lapses they've had are fixable. The things I just mentioned, I'm not sure are between now and the end of the season, and those concern me more than anything.
Arizona's going to lose games. We know that.
Yep.
Just don't lose to bad teams. And Arizona State wasn't good, is not a good team. And
Got to play them again, too.
yeah, and I mean the game at January 31st, we'll be back before then. We'll make our pick for BYU on Monday. With that said, that would be a bad loss. Speaking of good losses, Shane, I looked at the schedule and I think there are only 3 good losses left on Arizona's schedule. At BYU next Monday, at Kansas, and at Houston. So I think any home game you lose at home, I don't care if it's to Iowa State, Texas Tech, whomever, that's a bad loss to me. And any unranked team is a bad loss, except at Kansas. Would you agree with that, or are you selling that?
I'm going to sell that. I mean, McKale Center used to be this impenetrable fortress where they'd never lost at home. So on one level, I sort of agree, but I can't say, like, if they lose, say, 3 games the rest of the way in the regular season, say, and one of those is a home loss to Iowa State or BYU or Texas Tech, I don't think that's going to be the worst thing. Now, if you combine those, the 3 I mentioned with the 3 that you mentioned, then yeah, that could prevent Arizona from earning a 1 seed. But if Arizona finishes the season with, say, 4 losses, and one of them is a home loss to Texas Tech, or even to an unranked team, I can't imagine that would be a deal breaker for the selection committee based on the wins they've racked up so far and the additional wins they'll get the rest of the year. I think you're being a little too rigid with that number.
Listen, we got to get that 1 seed in the West. That's what it's all about. I'm not worried about individual losses. I'm worried about injuries, number 1, and getting that 1 seed in the West. What would it be? San Diego, San Francisco, Indianapolis. You stay out here, stay out west. Your fan base will travel. You have plenty of people in California that go, especially in San Diego.
Yep, which we saw.
And I think the other thing that I look at when I'm looking at these brackets, these mock brackets here, a lot of these other teams that I consider national championship contenders are in the other 3 because of geography. Outside of Gonzaga in the West, there's not really a team that is west of Texas that I think would be a threat to Arizona.
Yeah.
A significant threat.
Yeah, I just feel like if Arizona
maybe BYU. Sorry, BYU is the only one. My bad.
Yeah, BYU maybe. I feel like if Arizona's going to get back to the Final Four, there's going to be like some sort of like final boss history that they have to overcome in the Elite Eight. Like whether it's Gonzaga, Tommy Lloyd's former team, and they've had great battles with Gonzaga over the years, or Houston getting past them another time, or Illinois and Kylan Boswell, and of course the Elite Eight history we have with Illinois. I feel like there's got to be something like that that's going to happen in order for Arizona to get over the hump. It just, that's there's no rational thought for that. Just me being a timid Arizona basketball fan.
Fair enough. Okay. We'll talk more basketball with Casey Jacobson. How about Indiana winning the national championship? It just shows, you get the right coach, you get the right financial backing. I mean, Curt Cignetti is a genius. I think he's by far the best coach in college football. What he's been able to do wherever he's been, and now what he did at Indiana is unbelievable. It just shows, I mean, you never know.
Do you think
Arizona.
someone out there had an Indiana winning the national football championship and Nebraska winning the basketball championship, had a parlay out there that they're really excited? I can't imagine anyone did a parlay with both, but just
No,
imagine.
no, nobody's bet. No, nobody did a
No.
parlay with. But I mean, there's individual ones that people had Indiana at the start of the year. I think they were 100-1. But what Kurt Signetti did was incredible. It makes you think, hey, maybe Arizona finds a big donor, and is willing to pay for players, kind of like a Texas Tech thing in this day and age. Interesting. All right,
What
so
what did Rich Rod say at his press conference when he was introduced to why not
why not?
Arizona?
Why not Arizona? Yeah.
You never know.
Per the Wall Street Journal, Arizona's football team is valued $391 million. They were kind of doing it like how they would value college teams compared to like pro teams, etc. That's
Yeah.
52nd in college football. ASU is 64th at 299 millions. Do you agree that Arizona is a more valuable college football product than ASU?
I can't begin to speculate because I don't know how they arrived at that number. It sounds like more like kind of fantasy booking, I guess. Do I? So I guess I have to ask myself, do I think Arizona is a better national brand in football than ASU? If we're just comparing Arizona and Arizona State in this scenario, and despite the recent result, I think the answer would probably be no, just because I think fans outside of the state of Arizona, when they think of college football in Arizona, they think of ASU first. Not the case with basketball, but with football, they probably do. So I don't know the metrics they used. I'd be interested to learn more about it, but that's a pretty big gap. I mean, to 100 million, they're worth almost $100 million more than ASU. I'd like to think they are, but and I always come back to again. I think ASU has less excuse for being good every year than Arizona does. With ASU's got a bit richer history and they're in a bigger metropolitan area. So that number surprised me. It'd be fun to have someone on to talk about it who actually put the list together. But as far as like who's a bigger brand in college football, I still think, as much as I don't want to think about it, I think ASU is probably a little bit stronger brand just in terms of like brand recognition in term with the sport.
I can't argue with that one bit. I was very surprised when I saw this, but once again, don't know the methodology. If somebody has more of a thoughts or was able to, read the article more in depth than I was, or Shane was, let us know in the comments, either on X or on YouTube, and let us know what we missed there. Last one for you. Well, not last one, but so Arizona signed Dalen Austin, who is a cornerback from Oregon. So you'd
Mhm.
say, okay, normally that's a nice transfer guy that played in the college football playoff, but he has a case against him that involved a hit and run. Um, Buy or sell, Shane? This was a bad move by the coaching staff.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Eric. I didn't know about that situation until you shared it with me.
Mhm.
Yeah, reading about it, I think it was a bad move. I
I don't like
understand,
it.
and innocent
Yeah.
until proven guilty, and I'd like to hear from the coaches specifically about the situation once the transfer portal window closes to kind of get their side of it. But it looks pretty bad. The whole thing looks pretty bad. There's a grand jury in Oregon that refused to dismiss the case, so it's still pending. I'm not sure why the coaching staff at Arizona would see the need to go this direction when I have to imagine there were a good deal of other options out there. Maybe not former four-star guys, but other guys at smaller schools with a lot of upside, which they've been successful with already. They have a proven track record with already. So, yeah, I don't like it. It's not. I guess we'll have to see how it plays out, but I kind of would rather steer away from that drama altogether.
Yeah, I don't love that one. But okay, we'll find out, maybe if he's proven innocent. I just think after the Jaden Delora situation
Yeah,
the other year,
I was thinking the same thing.
I probably would have stayed away from. And I, and
Yeah,
I, you know, credit a friend of mine who pointed this one out to me. I didn't realize either, Shane, and
yeah.
somebody who's more clued in with Oregon than I am pointed that out, and certainly interesting. So they're putting out these college football top 25 polls for next year. ESPN and CBS Sports don't have Arizona in them, but On3 Sports has Arizona 25th, Shane, in their preseason super early poll.
Mm.
Buy or sell? That's a pretty fair ranking for this team.
Well, the guy from ESPN who put it out is our, two guesses. Our buddy,
Schleybaugh.
our buddy Mark Schleybaugh, who I did have ASU ranked.
Of course he
so,
did. Yeah.
Take of that what make of that what you will. No, I think I'd probably put them right on the cusp. I mean, that they do bring back Noah Fafita, and that's half the battle. And I think, getting Tristan Bounds back and bringing in some good guys on the offensive line is a big deal. But they are losing a lot of talent, so I think it's fair to. I think going into the next season, as of now, they're probably going to be on the cusp of the top 25. They ended the season strong. If you want to be a naysayer, you can say, well, number one, they're losing all their most talented guys on defense, and number two, they had to come from behind to win a lot of those games at the end of the season. So, I think they'll probably be. I would predict they're going to be just outside the top 25 in the first polls of the actual polls of next season. So, if you have them in, I think it's fair. If you have them out, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I think they're. I don't know if this is going to be a top 25 team next season, especially with the schedule they have. But it'll be interesting. But I think at least we're talking about them possibly being in the top 25 next season. That was no chance of that going into this past season. So that's at least refreshing.
Do you have some Shane standouts for us? Anything outside of men's basketball?
I sure do.
What do you got for us?
Yeah, I want to start by spotlighting. I'm going to spotlight the entire women's basketball team. They showed a lot of grit in their loss at number 10 TCU. I thought they were going to get boat raced in that game by 30 some odd points, but they were close for most of the game. They actually led at halftime. They did it all without their leading scorer, Mickey Purdue, who's likely out for the season. We knew this team would be a work in progress, and I think all things considered, the results so far have been about as good as we could have realistically expected going into the season. So shout out to Coach Burke and the entire team for the toughness they played with. Hopefully they'll scrape together at least 3 or 4 more Big 12 wins before the end of the season, which I think is certainly possible. They have a home game with Kansas on Tuesday night, followed by a game at Iowa State on Saturday. I want to mention the swim and dive teams. They had some good showings in the Big 12 West Championships in Tempe. The women won the 200-yard freestyle relay and the 400-yard medley relay. The men won the men won their team diving competition. Individually on the women's side, Riley Boughton won the women's 50-yard freestyle. Eleni Gawalt won the women's 100-yard breaststroke. Kelsey Wazakowski won the women's 200-yard breaststroke. And Cayman O'Neill won the women's 200-yard backstroke. And then Luke Hernandez for the men's diving team won the 1 meter and 3 meter dive. Nailed them. They got all the names, I think, pretty spot on. And then finally, how about Caleb Love? He's made 66 3-pointers in his rookie season in Portland, my hometown, which is the most ever for a two-way contract player in a single year. Because remember, he went undrafted. And it's the most by a rookie off the bench this season. So awesome to see his success. These undrafted Caleb Love and TJ McConnell go down in history as two of the best undrafted players in the history of the NBA. Of course, Caleb's got a long way to go, but he's off to a great start.
Long way to go, but yeah, it's really cool to see that how well he is playing for Portland. All right. As always, we are very glad for this podcast to be sponsored by Harrah's Auction Casino. And where can you get $15 in free slot play today? At Harrah's Auction Casino. Want more? At Harrah's Auction, just sign up for Caesars Rewards and $15 is yours, plus earn up to $100 in additional free slot play. Caesars Rewards is the nation's #1 players card, and Harrah's Auction is the only local casino that has it. Use your $15 in free slot play to earn perks at more than 50 destinations from coast to coast. That free slot play could earn you dinner in Vegas, hotel stays in New Orleans, and more. What are you waiting for? Sign up today. Take a spin with your $15 in free slot play and earn up to $100 more. Harrah's Auction Casino is your home for free slot play and more. Play for all. Coming up next, Casey Jacobson. Welcome back to Wildcat Country. Shane, for the first time in a couple of years, we are very glad to welcome back our buddy, Casey Jacobson, who called the game last week against Arizona State on Fox Sports 1. Casey, we see you everywhere, all over Fox Sports. Glad to have you back on the show. You called a great game, though a lot of us were very nervous about the game. It was a lot closer than we expected against ASU. Going into that game, Arizona's #1, ASU's not having a great season. What did you expect the game to be like? Did you expect a close game, or were you thinking, here we go again?
I expected a blowout. I never say that as a broadcaster. You never go into a game. You're supposed to be unbiased. And, but my partner always asks me, hey, what do you think tonight? And I say, I don't think Arizona State has shown, even though they'd come off one of their better performances of the year against Kansas State, in the previous 3 weeks, they hadn't shown me enough to think that they can compete with Arizona on the road. They hadn't shown me enough on the interior, besides Masamba Jop, who really is a promising prospect and has shown quite a bit, but he's thin and he's kind of an athletic shot blocker, but he's not really strong and sturdy, and they don't have a ton of strength down low. I thought they were going to get smashed down there. I really did. So yeah, I thought it was going to be a blowout. It wasn't. It was, as a broadcaster, I don't have a dog in the fight. And so I'm just hoping for a good game. It certainly was that. I appreciate the compliments. I know I got a lot of messages from Arizona fans who did not agree that I did a good job on the call. That's okay.
Wait,
they're still bitter about certain things from back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
People send you messages. Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I try not to read, but sometimes it's a lot, Yeah. But I understand that as a broadcaster, it's a public job. I also say when I watch games at home of other analysts, I criticize them sometimes too. It's an easy thing to criticize when you're just sitting at home watching. You're like, oh, what is he even saying? That's so stupid. You hear what he said? Said Toby Walker does no, it's natural. So it's okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Although I would just say one comment for any of those Arizona fans who are really upset with me for whatever reason. I think probably the biggest thing that they would be upset at is that I was talking a lot of positive about the Sun Devils. And I would just say the story of that game was ASU competing to the level that they were. The story was not Arizona Wildcats, number one team in the country, stomping on an opponent. The story was, holy crap, the Sun Devils are actually competing on the glass. They're making shots. Masamba Jop is scoring and blocking shots. That is the story. So I know sometimes Wildcat fans don't want to acknowledge that. As a broadcaster, we have to tell the story of the game. The story was, this is a surprise that the little brother is competing with the big brother. So I went where the story went.
No, and you said holy crap. We were all saying holy crap for a different reason, and we're glad Arizona survived. Casey, I saw your top 25 rankings the other day, and just like the AP and the coaches, you have Arizona number one. Is that ranking based on their resume, your belief that they are the best team in the country despite the ASU game, or a combination of both?
Oh, it's definitely a combination of both. Fox came to me earlier this season and asked me if I wanted to do a top 25 ranking every week. And at first I was like, I don't know if I want that in my life.
I'm sure everyone agrees with those too.
Well, but yeah, like people go crazy over rankings. They are controversial. I like rankings. So I said, okay, I'll do it. But if I do it, I don't give a crap about how anybody else does their rankings. I'm going to rank it on a combination of all the things. My own two eyeballs, first of all. Definitely, I'm looking at resumes. It's not like they don't mean anything. But if you just want a ranking of the resumes, then go to the net rankings. If that's what you're into. If you just want a KenPom ranking, which I put a lot of weight in my KenPom rankings too, then go to KenPom. Yeah. So I wanted to do a combination of all of that, what I believe and what I've seen so far. So yeah, I mean, that's what rankings are, right? That if everyone had the same exact rankings, how boring would that be? So I'm just trying to make mine as true as I can to what I like and what I've seen.
So you think Arizona's number one based on not just their resume, but on what you've seen on the court with them?
Yeah, so to me, it's Arizona and Michigan. They are on a separate tier to me. Michigan has looked like normal. They looked otherworldly for about a 4 to 5 week span. They were the best team. I thought they were performing better than Arizona was in late November, early December. But to me, you lose one game. Arizona hasn't lost a game. Their resumes are very similar. Their dominance is very similar. Michigan still leads the country in average margin of victory, but Arizona is either number 2 or number 3. They beat their teams by 20, 21 or 22 points a game. So it's dominant fashion. Both those teams are in a separate category to me. UConn has struggled in their last 4 games in the Big East Conference. The Big East is not very good, by the way. It's not even close to the Big 12. Yeah. UConn has struggled. They are winning games, and I still believe that UConn absolutely has what it needs to win a national championship, but they have not performed at the dominant level that Arizona or Michigan has.
Casey, your Stanford team was ranked number 1 in the country for a good chunk of the second half of the 2000-2001 season. When you're ranked number 1 and you're in that national spotlight and you have the number 1 next to your team name on TV in every publication, on the score bugs on TV, does the weight of that, do you start feeling the weight of that? Does it become difficult to manage, especially for guys 18, 19, 20 years old after a while?
It's a good question. I'll answer it in a couple of ways. So one, do you feel the weight of it? Absolutely, yes. Will the guys admit that? No, they won't. I would never have told the media or told my coaches like, hey, dude, being number 1, it's a lot, man. It's people are talking about you all the time, especially when you're undefeated at number 1, which happened to us a couple of times at Stanford as well. Yeah, you're talked about in a different class. There is pressure, but athletes, they've been dealing with pressure. Like Koa Pete has been winning high school state championships. Like he's been talked about. He's had pressure before. So this isn't anything new, but yes, it absolutely weighs on you. However, it is what you want. This is like when you are a competitor to the level of a Jaden Bradley, a Toby Awaka, these guys want to be in the spotlight. They don't want to be irrelevant. They don't not want to be talked about. They want to be talked about. And then can I just add one more thing? While I remember being number 1 and having that pressure and enjoying it, I was a guy who enjoyed the spotlight, enjoyed the challenge, enjoyed going into another arena and having it packed every time, having signs, overrated, whatever. I do think that I don't think it's a good thing to go undefeated like really, really late into the season. I think eventually there's a tipping point where it becomes a distraction. I recently read a note, and this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll turn it back over to you guys. The last 22 national champions have had at least 2 losses. Okay, so that is just a little nugget to say, you know what? Like it's kind of good to take a loss if it's the right kind of loss against the right opponent to refocus, to recalibrate. There's been a lot of teams like Kentucky, I think it was 2014, St. Joe's even before that, Wichita State when they had Ron Baker. Those teams went way deep into the season, into the NCAA tournament. Gonzaga in 2021. Go way deep and way into the tournament being undefeated, and it's all anybody talks about. It's all anybody talks about. And none of those teams have been able to actually hold the trophy or cut down the nets at the end of the season. And so if you're asking me as a player now, if I were on Arizona, would I want to go into the NCAA tournament undefeated? I would say the answer is no. I would not want that.
All right, but so that, I mean, I agree with that you want to get that loss out of the way. We saw what happened to Gonzaga. You referenced it. The other year they go into the tournament undefeated and then get whacked in the championship game by Baylor. Let me ask you about Arizona with a 1 seed in play in the West. How many losses can they sustain and still end up with that 1 seed?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I would just say that last year, I know Florida entered with 2 losses. I know that Houston entered with 3, I think. So I'm going to just by last year's standards, let's say 2 or 3 would be the correct answer. And given the fact that Arizona now plays in the Big 12, no longer the Pac-12, I think it's very possible Arizona could even take a 4th loss. It depends on who the loss is to. Let's say they only lose to Houston, maybe a Texas Tech on the road, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like a top 15 team, Iowa State, then I don't think that those losses wouldn't hurt them at all to me for a number 1 seed. It's if you do lose to a Cincinnati at Yeah.
Like a West Virginia or
like an Oklahoma State. Okay.
Right.
So some of these teams, you take a loss there and now we're having a different conversation, but there are several losses in the Big 12 that will not knock Arizona's chances. Even multiple losses won't knock them out of a 1 seed. No.
When we had you on the other year, you talked about this formula that you have to win a national championship. And Shane loves it. And Shane has referenced it more times than I can count on two hands over the last couple of years. Can you refresh us what is the Casey Jacobson formula for winning a title and how does Arizona fit in right now?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. I can read it to you. Okay, so first starts, with the week 6 AP poll. Now, this isn't like, this is kind of becoming more known knowledge. This isn't like my own secret that I'm keeping. It's just, I have a list of 6 things that I have kind of tabulated.
Oh, so it's expanded from 4 from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's expanded. But it absolutely starts, number 1, with the week 6 AP poll. Okay. Since 2024, so now we're going on 21 title winners in a row, 21 in a row. The champion has been ranked in the top 12 of the week 6 AP poll. So a team like Nebraska this year, sorry, you weren't ranked in the top 12 of the week 6 AP
They should probably
poll,
just quit and go back to Lincoln.
No, I know. It's again, I want to remind people who are listening, this is a title formula, not a Final Four. There's plenty of teams you can make a Final Four, not being in any of these categories. This is actually winning the championship, and it is you guys know, you follow this tournament for many years. There are a lot of teams that can make a Final Four. There are very, very few that can actually win 2 games in that Final Four. So number 1, ranked in the top 12 of the week 6 AP poll. Number 2, you must have a first-round NBA draft pick on your team. Now, this one is a little bit tricky because sometimes a player, for instance, like a Michael, like a Clayton Jr. last year for Florida, was not necessarily on first-round draft boards like in the middle of last season, but became a draft pick, right? So there is sometimes a little bit of wiggle room, but you kind of know, as a fan, you know it when you see it. You look at your roster. If you have a first-round pick on it, awesome. And it could be a freshman, it could be a senior, it could be anywhere in between. If you don't, there has not been a national champion in the last 45 years that has not had a first-round draft pick on it. Wow. So that is one that's it's really set in stone for me. To me, the top 2 are kind of set in stone, really, until somebody shows me otherwise. So those are the first 2. The fourth one is experience. Now, this one is a little bit less defined, meaning the only team whose best player was clearly a freshman to win a national championship in the last 20 years, or 25 years. There's only been 2 of them. Jahlil Okafor for Duke in 2015 and 2012, Anthony Davis for Kentucky. Besides that, if your best player is a freshman, it is difficult. So again, this isn't a hard and stone. If your best player is a freshman, you're out. But it does mean, to me, if we're putting up 2 teams, which one do I like? If one has a best player as a freshman, he's probably going to get the short end of the stick. Last year, Cooper Flagg, to me, was the best player on what I thought was the best team, the Duke Blue Devils. Duke lost in the Final Four to a older, tougher Houston team by 1 possession, but still they lost. Yeah. So number 4 is balance, and you have to have top 25 balance. So, and when I'm talking, this is a Ken Palm metric. So 20 of the last 21 national champions have been ranked in the top 25 of offense and defense. So you can't have a top 25 offense, but be ranked 90th in defense. That ain't going to do it. The only exception, so 20 of the last 21 national champions have had that balance. The only exception was in 2014. Shabazz Napier went off for the UConn Huskies. UConn was an awesome defense. Their offense was ranked 39th in the country. Shabazz Napier blew up, kind of carried them. So there is an exception if one of your guys just goes nuts, but otherwise 20 of the last 21 have had balance. So if you're looking for that. I've added a couple. So I've added, you must shoot at least 35% from the 3-point arc. And I've added this just because 3-point shooting has become so much more important over the course of, I would call it a decade, maybe more, 15 years. All of the last 10 national champions have shot 35% or better. So again, you don't have to be awesome at shooting 3-pointers, but you can't be garbage either. You're probably going to get got. Again, what's interesting about this Arizona Wildcat team, you guys know they don't shoot a ton of threes. Well, I always talk about in the broadcast, they average amongst the fewest 3-point shooting, 3-point attempts per game, but they can make them. It's not like they're a crappy shooting team. They just choose not to use that weapon. So Arizona would not fall in this category. It's nothing about how many you shoot. It's about how good you can shoot them. And then the last one I already mentioned to you. So the sixth, my sixth category is one I just added. You have to have at least 2 losses or more going into the national title. So the last 40, so I think I misspoke. The last 48 national champions have had at least 2 losses entering the NCAA tournament. So the last 48 in a row, guys.
And so that you would think that in this case, Arizona would check all those boxes, except at this point, the last one. I mean, I guess it depends on who you think their best player is.
Well, the 3-pointer one though, Shane.
But they're 36% from 3.
Okay, it's close.
They're good. They're good enough.
Okay.
They're
good enough. I mean, Del Orso's struggles have definitely brought them down a bit, but they're still above that threshold. I think you can argue who their best player is. To me, I think their closer is Jaden Bradley. Cole Pete and Braden Burries are outstanding as well. So it seems like they check all those boxes. They just need to. What I'm hearing, they just need to lose a couple games and then go to the national championship.
That's the good news for Wildcat fans. They just need to lose a couple games and then they're just they're good to go. Yeah.
So I feel like I'm being negative with all this, but I'm just like I'm trying to think of some weaknesses on this team, and I suggested a few in our first segment, but whether it's the ASU game or just overall, like if this team has a fatal flaw that may keep them from winning a national title or even getting to the Final Four, what might it be?
Well, there is no clear fatal flaw. Let's be honest about that. And if we're trying to nitpick, every team has like a little bit of things that they don't do well. So I would say that their youth. So Arizona starts 3 freshmen. Okay. They started 3 awesome freshmen, but none of them have played in an NCAA tournament before. Okay. So again, I'll just go back to last year's Duke team, which I think there are some definite comparisons to this Arizona Wildcat team and last year's Duke team. And while Arizona doesn't have a Cooper Flagg, a player that literally leads them in every category, like points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, all that. Like Cooper Flagg was pretty unique in that way. Duke had 3 freshmen that were like NBA players. They all 3 were NBA players. Duke's analytics were off the charts. They were the most balanced team statistically in the country last year. They did dominate teams that they were supposed to dominate. And then we get into the NCAA tournament. And you guys remember, they lost a couple of games Duke did late. They lost a game late to Kansas when Cooper Flagg turned it over. They lost another game late where Cooper Flagg had a shot and missed it. And then you remember in the NCAA tournament, they play in the Final Four, and it was Cooper Flagg who, best player in the country. Okay. So, and he's going to be probably NBA Rookie of the Year. If Caleb Love doesn't stop scoring, by the way, guys, Caleb Love, former Wildcat, just going bananas for Portland Trailblazers. Cooper Flagg had a chance to win that game against Houston and couldn't, right? None of us here would argue that Cooper Flagg is a bum, that Cooper Flagg shouldn't have been taking those shots. But we could also argue that like he was still learning. He was still learning how to play, how to win. He didn't have a ton of experience in those clutch moments. And even the experience that he gained throughout the year wasn't really positive. He made mistakes. He made mistakes in late games. So why I bring this all back is like, this isn't even really a nitpick. It's just what it is. Yeah. These 3 freshmen will be on a stage that is just unique and different. And if the Arizona's the #1 seed and they're playing in the Final Four, that is bigger than any stage that Koa Pete's ever been on. It just is. Okay. Yeah. So now the team that Arizona possibly could be playing, do they have players that have never played in a Final Four? Maybe. But maybe they don't. Maybe they play Houston, and Houston's got a bunch of dudes who've been there before. This is how it works. This is what makes it fun to talk about. But I could say that's probably the only weakness I could think of is that they start 3 freshmen.
Yeah, and I do like that they have a couple of very good seniors coming off the bench with Toby Awaka and Anthony Delorso as well. But your point is well taken. Last question for you, Casey. Really appreciate your time. I like the way that Arizona's schedule plays out. They had a lot of early tests. They're going through, I wouldn't call it an easy portion of the schedule, maybe the easier portion right now.
I'd
And then they
agree,
have a
yeah.
gauntlet at the end. Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, BYU a couple times, and then of course the Big 12 tournament. I love that they have to play some of the best teams in the country going into the NCAA tournament, which was not the case when they were in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 when it died was not the same as when you were playing. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. So I'm looking at their schedule right now. They are in the midst of what I would argue is the easiest portion.
Kind of the eye of the hurricane, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, obviously the game in Provo on Monday, January 26th against BYU, the Marriott Center is one of the toughest venues. I mean, I would say especially with this team now, but even before, even an average BYU team could really rise to the level at home. It's one of the biggest venues. I think it holds 18,000, I think.
Yeah.
Like the Kennel in Spokane, the Marriott Center in Provo, and the McHale Center in Tucson. Those are the three Western venues that I wouldn't want to play in. Those are tough. But the home against BYU. So Texas Tech at home against BYU, away at Houston, away at Baylor, home against Kansas, home against Iowa State. Those are bad. Those are like 6 games that Arizona could lose. They could theoretically lose any one of those games at all. And again, if I'm a Wildcat fan, I know this is weird, but you're going to want them to lose a couple there. You're just going to want to see them get smacked down, see how they can bounce back, recover, really what they're made of there. And I think your point is well taken about the Pac-12. I always worried about that when they were in the Pac-12, especially with the Ben Mathurin, Christian Coloco team that I really liked. I did think the Pac-12 hasn't really done them any favors. They haven't been tested nearly as much. They did get tested in the finals of that Pac-12 tournament against UCLA. That was a really fun game. UCLA was really good with Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell and Juzang. But those opportunities were few and far between. So I don't know if their metal sword was sharpened quite as sharp.
I would say even 2 years ago, Casey, when they were a 2 seed. And they played 6 seed Clemson in the Sweet 16. Definitely a game that they should have won, but I would argue Clemson was the best team they'd played in 2 or 3 months. They don't have to worry about that this time around, which I really like.
Yeah, and it is just like, these teams that make it. Last year, we saw 4 number 1 seeds make it, including 2 from the SEC. The SEC was the best conference in the country by a long shot, right? They took 14 teams into the NCAA tournament. Both Auburn and Florida made it. Those 2 teams, there was nothing that they hadn't seen. There was nothing that they weren't prepared for. It just is that way. So, I'm excited for this Wildcat team, because it is so clear that they have all the goods. So you're just looking at 2 things. One, you want to stay healthy, especially they're deep, so they could take an injury here, maybe there, but it just
let's
depends.
just not. Let's just not.
Yeah, let's not.
No, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. But they are, that's every team, could theoretically hit one of those and ruin their season. It's happened before and it'll happen again. I think it would be good for them to be humbled in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if it's going to come at Houston or if it's going to come at BYU. I actually have no idea, but I think it'll be a good thing for them to get humbled and go back to the drawing board and start a new streak. And who knows when it'll come.
Are we going to hear you on any other Arizona games this year? Do you know your schedule yet?
I'm calling Arizona's next game at home against Cincinnati.
All right. Yes. Well, there you go. All right. Well, we'll be listening to you on Wednesday night. All right. Last question for you. If you were to predict today, you said Arizona and Michigan are the 2 best teams in the country. As of right now, do you believe Arizona will make the Final Four?
I do. Now, of course, I would need to see a bracket in front of me, just because let's say, again, one of the teams that I'm just scared of every year is Houston. Now, if Houston gets in, and Houston right now, they're a 1-loss team. They're not as good as Arizona, so they can theoretically take a couple more losses. And then, you might have a 1 versus a 2 in your bracket to get to a Final Four, and that 2 might be Houston. That would be a total nightmare. Total nightmare.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So besides a team like that, because Houston is so powerful on the interior, so powerful, they're strong enough. Besides a team like that, I would feel pretty good about advancing Arizona in my bracket, because they have another gear that other teams don't have, because they have size that other teams just certainly don't have. And they have a senior point guard in Jaden Bradley, who I just trust so much. I just trust him so much at the end of games. And you guys know that matters. That matters immensely in the NCAA tournament. Either you have like a lottery pick, like a Jalen Suggs. Okay, he's a freshman, but he's just like a lottery pick. He's just truly special. Or you have a veteran who just knows what to do. I want either one of those. And Arizona has one of those. So, I trust them. But I do want to see the bracket. Don't put the Houston Cougars in the Wildcat bracket. I'm going to be like, y'all are be saying prayers.
I hate the Final Four talk. We haven't been since 01.
I know.
Come on, we got to have the conversation.
I know Eric's got to ask the question.
I understand. I get it.
Casey, thanks so much. It's been a couple of years since we chatted with you. Thanks for taking some time to join us. We'll enjoy listening to you on the broadcast on Wednesday. Ignore the hate from the Arizona fans. Did a great job.
It's all good.
All the best. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, guys, for your time. Appreciate you.
Discover more Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino.
Hi, folks. Here are your drinks.
Where having fun means racking up reward credits with the Caesars Rewards loyalty program that can be redeemed for food, free play, hotel stays, and more. Not only here in the city of Maricopa, but also at more than 50 Caesars properties coast to coast. From Harrah's Las Vegas to Caesars Palace in Atlantic City. What are you waiting for? Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino, the official sponsor of Play.
Great to catch up with Casey, and really enjoyed chatting with him. Love getting those keys, Shane, that you've talked about over the years and how he's expanded his criteria. And Arizona certainly, he's bullish on their chances of making it to a Final Four, as he said at the end of the show.
Yeah, he expanded his list, and I remember one thing he had in his list previously, and I don't think he mentioned this last time, was great guard play. And Arizona certainly has that with Jaden Bradley and Braden Burry. So they check all the boxes, except they just need to lose a couple games, which I don't suspect is going to be a problem by the end of the season.
All right, let's make some picks. By the way, with Indiana not covering the spread, you gained another point on me, and you beat me 190 in our college football picks. A thorough destruction, so tip of the cap to you. In basketball, it's 12-10. You get 1 point for a spread, or 1 point for the other categories, and then 2 points for every Arizona game. Let's start with the other categories. Shane, give me an unranked Big 12 road win this upcoming week.
And you're ahead 12-10, is that correct?
I'm up 12-10, yeah.
Okay, all right. So it's happening Tuesday night, so I can be proven wrong quickly because we're going to get this out probably Tuesday morning. I'm going to take UCF at Iowa State. I think Iowa State's very good. I think they're a great team, but they're just going through it right now. So, and UCF is a legit tournament team, so I just think it's a matter of UCF catching them at the right time. So I'm going to be a little bolder than I have to be and take UCF.
I'm going Cincinnati at Arizona State. I am not buying the Sun Devils at all. Okay, top 25 upset. I'm going Sean Miller in Texas over number 21 Georgia this week. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't like any of the options beyond the one you picked, but I'll go with Tennessee over Alabama. Tennessee's number 15 in defense in Ken Palm. I think they might be able to do enough to slow down Alabama's offense for 40 minutes. So I'll go with the Vols.
And the Vols cost me a parlay on Saturday when they blew an 18-point lead at home against Kentucky. That is why they are unranked at the moment. All right, 3 games we're going to pick. The first 2 are at home. Cincinnati at Arizona. I'm going Wildcats by 15. I think they get back on track, play more confidently, and I'm not sold on Cincinnati. Kirk Kriisa makes his triumphant return to the Media Center.
Yeah, if Arizona fans are thinking U of A can just go on cruise control for these next 2 games, I think they're very wrong. Cincinnati's looked pretty good lately. They just beat Iowa State. They lost at UCF by a point a week ago. They played Houston close at home. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be another uncomfortable game. Cincinnati does not shoot the ball well at all, but they're number 7 in Ken Palm nationally in defense. Kirk Kriisa, like you mentioned, he's been injured, but there is a chance he comes back and plays in this game, which adds another fun wrinkle. I think it's going to be kind of an ugly game. Think San Diego State game, but maybe a little closer. I think Arizona wins by 8.
All right. I would assume that you're going to take Cincinnati to cover the line because I believe Arizona will be favored by more than that.
Yeah.
West Virginia at Arizona. Now, I think this is it's a decent West Virginia team, but I think this is the game that Arizona puts on them on Saturday. I'm going Wildcats by 21. Big blowout.
I'll agree with you on that one. The game's going to be challenging too, but probably not quite as much as the Cincy game. West Virginia's gotten their butt kicked from the two elite teams they played so far in the Big 12, Iowa State and Houston. They both rolled West Virginia pretty good. I don't think they have the size to keep up with Arizona for 40 minutes. I had Arizona by 20, so you're 1 point more optimistic. I don't think it's going to be a wire-to-wire blowout, but I think Arizona ends up winning comfortably.
And finally, since we're not going to be able to record in time, this is tricky for Arizona. They have 3 games in 6 days, 5 or 6 days, however you want to look at it. At BYU on Monday, Fran Fraschilla on the call for ESPN. Casey Jacobsen talked about losses and that it's time for Arizona to lose some games, and we don't want that. I mean, listen, we want Arizona to go and go undefeated. Great. I think this is their first loss. I think BYU comes out. AJ DeBonce is the real deal. That team is really, really good. This could be, I think if Arizona were to win this game, 1 seed in the West is a very good bet, but I don't think they will. I think BYU wins this game by double digits. So give me the Cougars by 11. I think this is Arizona's time to go down.
Yeah, Arizona's going to lose at least a couple games this season, but I actually don't think it's going to come in this game.
Really?
Yeah. I say that hesitantly because I picked Arizona to beat BYU in football too, and which surprised you as well, and that didn't work out. No. Look, Arizona handled BYU in Provo last year. I know BYU is probably even better this season, but they haven't exactly lit the world on fire, even with DeBonce. They've looked pretty average against some average to bad teams, including Utah. They just beat them by 5 rather. They just lost by double digits to Texas Tech. They do have one of the best 3-man rosters in college hoops with DeBonce, Richie Saunders, and Robert Wright. But there's a pretty big drop-off in talent after that. I think they might peak toward the end of the season like they did last year because Arizona beat them in Provo, and then BYU came in red hot to Tucson and eked out the win. But at this moment, we're recording this a week before the game, and Arizona plays twice before then. But I like Arizona to go head-to-head with BYU inside and make enough outside shots to win by 3 points in Provo. And they've proven already they can win in tough environments. They won in stores. They won essentially at Alabama. So I don't think they're going to be intimidated, and I think they find a way to win.
Wow. How about that? Arizona by 3. Shane, you are more optimistic than I am. It's funny. Last thing, I was out at a golf tournament. I was playing in a golf tournament with friends on Friday at TPC Scottsdale, where they're doing the Phoenix Open, and I'm wearing some U of A gear, of course. And I was with a bunch of BYU fans, and it's the post, ceremony. I haven't told you this. And a guy named Jason with his dad, we exchanged, nod, and he's like, "Wait a second, are you that guy Eric Cohen from the podcast?" Wow. And I said, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "Wow, I love it." He goes, "I tend to agree more with you than Shane because you're more positive and picks with than Shane is sometimes." Jason, I apologize. Shane's got me this week. He's a lot more.
Was Jason a U of A fan or a BYU?
Yeah. He's a grad. I think.
Oh, okay.
2011, 2012, something like that. And he just was like, I tend to agree. Shane's a little bit more, nervous, about things.
Normally, that's the case. And I'll tell you, in the rare times where I'm more positive, that tends not to work out very well for Arizona. So you take it with a grain of salt. But we'll see.
You did pick them to win in stores.
I did.
At UConn earlier in the year. I did not. So you know what? This is the week Shane Dale is more positive than I am, and among them, this happens every so often. So you know what? I hope you're right and I'm wrong.
Me too. Usually it's the other way around.
Thanks to Casey Jacobson. Great show. Great to have him back on the show. For Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening. The number 1 unanimous in the country, Arizona basketball. Love it. As I always like to say, bear down.